So welcome to this week's episode of Dictate the Tempo. My name is Paul and I'm joined by two people this week because we have the regular co-host in Colin. Good evening, Colin. How are you today?
I am spectacular, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, but I'm a bit concerned. Before we go on to the other person, he can wait. He's kept us hanging around for weeks now. We don't have visuals today because your wife has you out of the office working.
Yes.
M&M's, Colin. What's the update on the M&M situation?
We've had one refill since we met last, and I'm about an M&M and a half below the line from the last time, so I'm due for another refill.
I love it. I absolutely love it. M&M talk back next podcast. So we are joined tonight by somebody who did say he wanted to be part of the podcast, then decided life was more important than Football Manager. I mean, pathetic if you ask me. Ryan, welcome back. First one of the year. Did you have a nice new year?
I did. It's been a while. We're still waiting for new news, but other news, I am expecting a child. So that's where my life has.
Here we go.
It's been dedicated to.
Here we go. I've got 3 kids, Ryan. I just ignore them when it's podcast night. You got to step up.
They don't exist.
Step up. Yeah, they don't exist. From when we click start recording to when we click stop, I'm single. I'm living the life. I've got my can of Monster next to me. I've got Colin on the line. We put up with you, Ryan. We've got Colin on the line. What can be better?
We are living the life.
Oh, do you know what? I actually saw. Here we go. Podcast which actually has nothing to do with topics. I actually saw my Facebook memories 2 days ago that us three were playing Euro Truck Simulator in 2015 live on Twitch.
Oh my God.
Memories.
Memories.
There's a throwback.
So 10 years later, me and Colin have lost even more hair. Ryan's now got a girlfriend, a fiance, sorry. I mean, the world is going mad. The world is going mad.
A child on the way.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going on.
We're getting old. I think that's the problem.
I know. Me and Colin are off to Turkey this year. Celebrate our 10-year anniversary with a hair transplant.
Yeah. I'm getting used to being bald. I've made peace.
And do you know what? I spoke to someone today about it. I said it's a couple of years since I first shaved my head, and I'm kind of just used to it now. So
exactly.
Bit disappointed Colin cancelled the visuals for tonight, people, because I shaved my head ready for the podcast. I was freshly shaved.
I didn't. I look like a Viking.
Oh, I would have loved it.
I'll keep it for the next one.
You are spoiling us. Next podcast, we have visuals of Colin and a M&M update with visuals.
That's right.
Shall we talk some Football Manager?
Oh, why not?
I mean, we might
go.
as well, because Ryan, there's speculation the game's never going to come back and Sports Interactive's going to close down, and we finished, Ryan. We finished. This podcast is going to be called, we can still call it Dictate the Tempo, technically, but that's just M&M updates, isn't it, at that point?
Reminiscing on old times of when we used to berate SI, but I think that's what we'll probably do today, because what have they done? Where have they gone? What rock are they hiding under?
I mean,
is the game ever going to appear?
Probably no. I don't want to brag or anything, but Football Manager still following me on Twitter, and I thought to myself, after calling them out on podcasts, that's quite impressive. Then I remember they've not been active since December, so when they come back, I guess I'm getting kicked to the boot. I was very impressed at first, then obviously you click on, hang on, they've not actually been online. Maybe they've lost the password. Did anybody ever wonder? Do you know what? The game could be coming in March. As they promised, the game could be coming in March. They've just lost the password to update us and tell us.
I think that would be the ultimate best case scenario at this point, is that everybody suddenly forgot how to do their job and everything's actually okay. They just forgot how to. The communications department forgot how to work.
But normally when people lose the password and stuff on on X, they normally then get hacked and you get loads of naked ladies on the feed. So they've not gone that way yet, but you never know.
I have so many questions for you on that one.
Oh, somebody.
So many.
Who was it? I can't remember who it was. Somebody got hacked the other day, and I went on X, and I mean, you know, I didn't go off for a good half hour. The longest I've spent on. Unless my wife's listening to the podcast, and I turned that off straight away. Blocked. So, right, let's get into this before we get our asses kicked. First off, I want to poke the bear of Sports Interactive and say that even though we've heard nothing, obviously now we know they've lost the password, but if they haven't, we've heard nothing. I mean, technically, Miles could tweet from his personal account if he's not busy on these trips he had to cancel. Can I actually, do you know, I'm jumping around, but let me just read something to you that he posted on the development update on the 4th of September. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is a paragraph from this post on the 4th of September. In recent weeks, this is Miles talking, I have also taken steps to free up more of my time to focus solely on development and supporting the wider team. I bloody hope so. One of our Care Studio values is consider the bigger picture. I mean, I'm assuming the community is not in that bigger picture. And what's most important right now is focusing on FM25. I mean, you would have thought so. It's literally his... I mean, yeah, I was going to say it's literally his job, but then I guess when I go home for my job, I don't exactly focus on it. I mentioned in June that I'd be speaking at a conference in Barcelona as part of the keynote, whilst we still have an FM presence there. I will not be making the trip because I need to concentrate all of my efforts on directing FM25. It's for this reason that I will also not be attending Tokyo Game Show, an event I loved last year, and it really helped make our first ever release in Japan a success. Well, your second release is not going to be. I've also cancelled a trip to America, which I was really looking forward to. Now, I have to say, and I'll go to you, Colin, first.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst I appreciate that this is communication, I mean, it was in September, but this is communication, which we said we wanted more of. Does he want us to feel sorry for him? I don't quite understand the purpose of this paragraph. What's his point? Is he telling us that the boss is focusing on the game? Because I would kind of hope that was happening anyway.
You would. I think he was setting the stage for. I think he was setting the stage for bad news. So this was my read on this is. This was a hey, we're doing an all hands on deck here, and because of his public presence, especially at some of these key events, he needs to lay some groundwork for why he isn't going to show up. Because if he just cancels and ditches, then then it's more problematic. So there's more there'd be more speculation and whatnot. And at that point in September, they hadn't already broken bad news. So I think he was, call it plausible deniability or whatever. I think he was setting the groundwork for, I got to cancel a bunch of stuff because I'm not going to show up. Whether it was because he's actively driving development, because he's actively managing day to day of what's going on for the studio, or he's just trying to not have to stand there and answer hard questions from fans and video game journalists on what the hell's actually going on here, over the course of it, that I can't answer. But I think my read is it's plausible deniability. I give you an excuse for why I'm not showing up because I'm dedicated. I'm here. I'm going to make this. I'm taking the helm to make this product come to market for everybody, and it's going to be the greatest thing in the world. Which at the time, fine, no issue with it. But here we are now on the 4th of February. 4 days after their self-imposed deadline to share information, and we've got nothing. And I'll say, here's my issue. If they had never taken a dime from anybody, who cares? You released it, you missed your deadlines, whatever. This is an internal thing. It's neither here nor there. You took people's money. You opened up pre-orders and you took people's money. You made them a promise that you were going to deliver a product, and now you've disappeared. And to me, that's the unforgivable part. I don't care what the answer is. Say so. Either refund everybody and just say, "Look, we're in a different, we can't talk about what's going on, but we're closing pre-orders. We're returning everybody's money. Fine. We all go back to doing what we're doing. And when something changes, something changes. But you're holding on to people's money. You've promised them updates. You've told them you're gonna tell them what's happening and where their hard-earned money is, and you disappeared. To me, that's unforgivable.
You say about taking people's money pre-order. Now, what I would say is they have put out in December, I think they put out before that as well, November time, that when the game was moved to March release, that you could get a refund. Now, what I would say is, what percentage of people who pre-purchased even follow their social medias? So a lot of people would have pre-purchased and are literally loading Steam up once a week going, where the hell's my gamer? But Ryan, I have noticed on...
Easily.
Sorry, Colin?
I was going to say easily. I mean, the fact that they left it open and they said, well, it's up to you. And then they made promises about information they were going to share that would enable the consumers to make decisions about whether or not they were going to stay anyway. And then they never delivered that information. Right. To me, give the money back.
Now, Ryan, I do see as well, actually, pre-purchases are still available. Now, if you go to footballmanager.com/buy line, don't know what the name is for that, FM25, now, yes, at the top of the page it says pre-purchase FM25. Then you have FM25, Console, Touch, and Mobile. Now, Console, Touch, and Mobile say coming soon, where FM25 just says 10% off. If I quickly glance that screen, it almost looks like FM25's out. But it's only available to pre-purchase, and it says out from March 2025. So they are still taking pre-purchases, so you can still pre-order a game. Are we taking that as face value that the game is still coming in March then? If they are still promoting this on the 4th of February, 4 days or 5 days, however you look at it day-wise, since they promised, what's the line they actually put out? The new gameplay reveal. So it's not just a reveal on the actual release date. A new gameplay reveal will also now move to the end of January 2025. So they've not only failed on that, Ryan, but they are still taking pre-purchase. How would you look at it that the game's still coming in March?
I mean, at this point, we've got the game is coming in March, where we're assuming that's the full game release date, but then they've also got before that something noted as missing from our announcement in September was the mention of advanced access, which I think the common Football Manager person would know as what we call beta. We would assume that would come February, maybe early March, depending on when they're supposedly going to be releasing the game. So
now, it does say something you noted as missing from our announcement on 30th of September was mention of advanced access on PC and Mac, with beta as we know it, or beta, whichever part of the world you're from. Colin will say beta. Or will you say beta? What do you say, Colin?
Beta.
Oh, you're so English, Colin.
We say beta.
Oh, I don't say beta. That's you southerner.
Well, you're Norwegian.
That's 7 years of engineering school doing math right there.
Ryan's a PE teacher, he can't do math. We can confirm advanced access will be available ahead of the new release date. And when we are confident of how long that period will be, we will update you with first opportunity. So there is going to be a beta, or early access, advanced access now. It changes every year, man. We should just keep it as the same name. But either way, so if the games come, let's say the game comes on, let me open a calendar. How do I open a calendar? There we go. Let's say the game comes on the 4th of March. Very optimistic. Then technically beta would then be coming on around the 17th, 18th of February. I know what you're all looking for.
If you use historical standards as it, then yes, I would question whether or not the norms that we're used to would hold here.
I think me claiming that it's going to come on the 18th of February. Colin, it seems you're living in the past over in the US. Can you see any flying pigs outside?
No, it's just blue sky.
Then I doubt it's coming on the 18th of February then. But we've dived deep over the last couple of podcasts into how shockingly upset we are about it. And I think as a podcast about Football Manager, we've got to put across our views of why we're upset. We've got to put across our views of why we're pleased, what we like, what we dislike, and so on. So we will never skirt around it. We'll never polish over hoping that we get on the good side of Sports Interactive. We'd rather know that we're honest and we can sit back and sleep well at night. Well, we can. Ryan's got a baby coming. So I've been watching quite a few different content creators. I've been seeing quite a few people on X, and it's very mixed in terms of some people say we shouldn't have an opinion. Some people say you should never get angry at them. Just give them time. Let the game come when it comes. Stop complaining. Some people say we have a right. I've seen some content creators say that they are the bridge between Sports Interactive and the sales of the game, which I think when you look at the amount of people that probably play on the PC, the amount of people who probably watch YouTube videos compared to the amount of people who play the actual game according to Sports Interactive, I would say we are very few. I think there's 1 million PC players and 10 million console and mobile players. So are we as important as we think we are? Are the content creators as valuable as they think they are? So I've got a question to you first, Colin. Why do we care that the game is delayed? Because somebody on their video, I think it was C Maggio is how you say it, S.I. Maggio or something. He said we should just take it when it comes, and why do we get so upset about it? We should get upset about other things in life. And personally, I mean, he's a nice guy, comes across really well, so this isn't an attack on him. I'm just bringing up people's opinions and what people have said. And I hate it when people say you shouldn't care about that, care about something else in life. Because that could be used about everything. Like, why do you care that your tire's flat? Care about the fact there's a war going on around the world? Like, people have a right to get upset about anything they want or care about anything they want. So, Colin, why do you care that the game's been delayed?
Because they took money for it. So, in full disclosure, I did not buy in a pre-sale because I was nervous when they opened it up, and I said, you know what, I was going to wait for launch, and I was going to wait to see a community, as we talked about the last time, a handful of creators that play, and I wanted to see their experience and see a more genuine response before I was going to pay for it. But to me, the issue here is 100% they took money for it. They claimed a product, and then they opened it up and allowed people to sell it. Now you can argue, well, if you went to buy this and you didn't have any idea what it was, that's your fault. No, I think there's inertia, there's history, and things like that there that people made assumptions. Now whether they're good or bad, a different argument. But as a company, they advertised a product, they took money for it, and they have done nothing to indicate that what the product is, which is a problem, And two, like they have a date, so I'll still give them. So if they release something, by the end of March, by midnight, we'll be generous. I'll say midnight in Pacific time in the United States on March 31st. Then okay, they've at least fulfilled that piece of it. But they publicly made disclosures and promises and took money, and they have failed to make good on those. That's why I think that players are justified being upset with the company for how they've handled their base business practice here. That to me is the fundamental problem. If they'd had never taken any money and said, yeah, we're going to be late. Sorry, we'll get back to you when we have more information. Cool. Great. Godspeed. Do what you want. But the fact that you said, hey, I've got a thingy, pay me for it. And then they said, oops, turns out that thingy isn't going to be here. And I'm not going to show you anything about the thingy. And then, oops, the thingy's going to be delayed, but I'll tell you about it later. And then later came and now they've gone completely radio silent. That is absolutely 100% the problem. And I think the entire, anybody who plays should be, who enjoys the game, who plays the game, has a right to be upset with them about how they've handled this as basic business practice. I think if you've pre-ordered, you have an added right to be even angrier about it because they took your money. Now you can get your money back, and I assume if anybody's put in for a refund, I haven't seen anywhere that anybody said, "Hey, I put in for a refund and I couldn't get one." So fair play. But at this stage, the fact that they're still holding people's money, that and they've promised a product with actively no information and missing those timelines, that I believe, in my mind, that justifies being angry about what the situation is. It's the changing of hands of money. That's the problem today.
But they've definitely still got my money, but that's just because I'm mentally addicted. When you've played a game since '97, you have that blind faith that everything's going to be all right. Actually, my wife asked me...
The part just on that, because I think you just touched on something really important, and that's part of what makes me so angry about this, is because they know that's a non-zero percentage of what's going to happen. This is a revenue spike to try and smooth out a disaster.
Yeah.
They know that it's not going to be 100%, but it's certainly not going to be 1%. Is going to go in and just say, you know what, it happens every year. I love playing the game. I love what they fix every year. And I'm in that. I mean, I've literally bought every version of this game since 2012. And I normally am a pre-order person, right? Hey, let me just get in. I'll save the 10%, whatever. It's neither here nor there, but like, hey, I'm going to do this anyway. So what the hell? I'll get it early. And I'm normally there. But this one felt so weird that I said, I'm going to wait. And I'm thankful that I did. But the fact that they know, and they are 100% aware of how connected their community is with them and how long most of us have been playing this series of games. So like this was a conscious decision. And to me, that is just core corporate leadership to say, yeah, we're going to go do this. That nobody stood back and said, this feels dirty. To me, that's just ugly. It's a bad look.
I think, Ryan, one of the things that I saw was on the video that Loki Doki put out. He was speaking about how it's amazing, upsetting, shocking that at some point in the offices of Sports Interactive and through calls or emails with Sega and negotiations and discussions between the media, the promotional team, and the developers of the game, they got to the point where they were delaying the game, because if you remember in September the game got put back by a few weeks. Mm-hmm. Then it got put back by a few months. And then we're still hearing nothing. We still, like we've discussed on previous podcasts, when you are building something new, you want to promote it more and more, share screenshots, share videos, etc. How did they get to the point of taking our money, how did they get to the point where they decided to release the date and start taking our money and not understand between themselves that the game was clearly not even close to being ready?
And that would be a similar point to what Colin has raised. It's greed in essence. And I know, yeah, they might need the money. I don't know whether they have a legal obligation where they have to release the game by a certain point. They might be trying to get the end of year financial cut-off in for whatever their time periods are for financial cut-offs. I'm pretty that might be around April, because that's how school time frames work. But I know the game industry might be different. There is nothing. We haven't seen screenshot. Well, we've seen screenshots of what the UI potentially looks like, but we haven't seen this new match engine. And they've moved over to Unity. When they announced that they were moving over to Unity, they said they had been looking at the engine since 2019. They were testing it. So they've been in and around it for a fair few years. And it's come to FM25 where they were going to do this big release of it, and we've seen nothing. So there's obviously major concerns, but the lack of communication is just, I think, a kick in the teeth for all of us, especially those that are dedicated to the game like we have been for many, many years, done podcasts, YouTube videos, various things that we have done, and there's nothing. We have no new game. The motivation to continue to play FM24 is probably dwindling for some because they just don't know what to do, what saves to do. It's difficult.
I think it's almost at that point, though, isn't it, where just tell me when the game is coming so I know what to do. Like, I've started a little save. Do I continue it? Do I get deep into it? Do I sign Wonderkid youngsters? Do I sign old players? How long am I playing it for? Am I playing it for a month? Am I playing it for 3 months? Like, I guess it goes on to my next question. And I'll put it to both of you. So, Colin, you can go first. I think the answer is going to be because they took our money, to be honest with you, Colin. But why do you think that we deserve a tweet, a website post, a bit of information? Why do you think we deserve or need to know about it? Because do we have a divine right to be kept up to date with everything? Do we have a divine right for them to come to us at every step and say, hey, it's coming then, or this is happening, that's happening? I mean, I guess technically we don't. Like, they don't have to tell us anything, Colin, technically.
So, yes, right. I mean, as a as a corporate entity, right? If they don't have to share, they don't have to share anything, right? The problem is twofold. One, they did, right? So they've now created a situation where they've set expectations. This is now you've created and set expectations, and you've breached them. And I've seen some people say like, oh, I've said I meant to call you on Friday and I forgot and I called you on Saturday. Like, is it any real big deal? That is not how corporate communication works in any place. I don't care where you are on planet Earth. Right. Public, corporate information and public organizations, right? Sega's a publicly traded company in the world. So, all that stuff's out there. Corporate communications are linked to effective promises, right? They are basically promises. And if you are going to violate the promise, which you can, right? I mean, I'm not saying that they couldn't come back out on Friday and say, hey, it turns out we're still having some issues. We're not going to be able to release the game. We're not going to be able to release the information as we expected for some period of time. We'll revisit this and give you an update. Great. I think in my mind, okay, not great, but it's fine. It's an acceptable answer, right? The issue is if you can't you can't effectively make that kind of a promise and then, go dark and disappear on it, right? That's problematic. The second piece is entirely on money, right? You have taken money from someone and made a promise to them about what you're going to do. And then again, if they had said, "Hey, we're having an issue, we're just going to refund all pre-orders until this issue is taken care of," no issue. "Hey, we're having a problem, we're still not completed with things, or we're having a licensing issue, we can't share something. We'll come back to you in 2 weeks with an update on what that is." Okay, great. But the fact that you took money and you basically ran, right? I mean, like for all intents and purposes, like this has all of the hallmarks of a rug pull, right? Go into different industry space, right? "Hey, I did a thing, I said some stuff, I got some money, I disappeared," right? Now, admittedly, that may be a bit harsh because we know they haven't disappeared per se, right? The building's still there, people are still going to work.
You just forgot the
But
password.
right, but you can't do that. I mean, like that is 101, right? You can't do that. You can't take people's money and disappear. And that to me is why I think one we're we are we are absolutely by right entitled to information. Now they don't have to come out and give us the nitty-gritty. Like I don't care. I don't need to see the source code lines that are causing problems or the exact licensee or whatever the case is, right? That's not what I'm saying.
I do, so I can
What I'm
pretend I know
saying
what I'm
is
looking at.
what I'm saying is that they owe the they owe the public information to say, "Hey, here's what's going on." The other piece of this to me, which has me concerning, right, is if things were really ready to go, and given how big this is, they'd be leaking something. Even if there was a licensing issue, they'd be doing like red versus blue guys, right? They would be all over building the buzz for this. With how big this is, how much they've been saying this is so critical to what they're doing, this is such a massive growth change. Even if they'd use Bundesliga licenses, the J League license, something. If the Premier League was an issue or Serie A or whatever was a licensing issue, they would be finding some way to create snippets and tell us about this stuff. The fact that there is nothing is red flag central, and because they took money, that's why there's a transparency. They took money, they made promises, and now you have to make good on those promises or give all the money back.
Can I ask you a
I'd be
question there
completely
then, Colin?
100% okay if they kicked all the money back. I'd be 100% okay. Okay, whatever, doesn't matter anymore to me.
Do you think,
Go ahead.
let's say I'm devil's advocate, I'm a guy on Twitter, and you said, "You took my money, you made a promise, you have to keep me updated what's going on." What if I turned around and said, "But they offered you your money back. You've decided to keep it in the company. They offered you it back, so why do we have to keep telling you stuff?" Is
They
it the
still
fact
have
that because they are not giving it back from their end and we can just request back, they are still saying, "Don't worry, the product is coming."
Right.
Basically, by keeping on to it.
Yeah. My argument would be is they're still stringing you along, right? By saying, "Hey, it's your choice if you don't want it, but I'm telling you it's coming. Don't worry, it's still happening," right? That to me is the problem.
Okay.
If they come up and say, "Look, it's not happening. Here's your money back," fine. Or, "Hey, there's a bunch of uncertainty as to when this is going to happen. Here's your money back." Great. The fact that they keep telling people, "You can have it back if you want, but don't worry, it's coming. It's happening. And we'll tell you information. We'll give you more information to make you feel better that it's coming," and then they blow that off. I mean, personally, I think anybody who's got it on pre-order, you know, I understand. The other side of it too is I understand from people on that the discount makes the game affordable for people where it may not be affordable. That 10% can be the difference between, "Hey, I really love this game and I'm invested and I can afford it at 10% less than I'm not."
Did I get it
So
10% off, did I?
they dangle those carrots. To me,
Okay.
that's the fundamental problem. If they come back and just say, "Look, hey, you put in, it's not going to happen. Here's your money back." Fine. all square. I don't care. They don't owe me. They don't owe anybody anything at that point because it's a silent product behind the doors. If it comes or it never comes, doesn't make a difference. But the fact that they've taken money and they keep saying it's coming, don't worry, we'll tell you about it. It's coming. At this point, like that's the problem.
I feel like a super rich guy now that I'm happy for my money to sit there and hope the game's coming. I don't need to withdraw it. But like you said, there's probably people out there who maybe this month they could do with £50, so they're desperately now trying to withdraw it back. Ryan, why is it the same? Like, why do you feel like you deserve communication from them? Did we kill Ryan?
No, you didn't kill me.
No, we didn't kill me. We just fell asleep.
I mute myself so you don't hear my background, and then you have a go at me after you listen to the podcast afterwards.
Colin was dying to say, "I wish he was always muted."
I was going to say we were going to have a go at him anyway.
That's true. Come on, Ryan. Why do you feel like you deserve something?
I think it depends on the level of communication that you want. I mean, I like to see match engine. I think most of us that's what we wanted to see, because that's what they mostly spoke about. Again, when we move over to Unity, we can expect a new match engine. The UI that we saw, I think the very first podcast when we returned, I think we ripped into that, going it looked a bit too boxy, and there were too many squares, too much information. They changed some names of some things, which they're probably always going to do, and they do that anyway with positions. I think, all right, the game is delayed. Fair enough. Games, not just Football Manager, games get delayed. Sometimes games get delayed because they don't want to compete. This is not the case. Football Manager don't really have competition in terms of a simulated football management game. There isn't another one out there that will compete. So there's obviously the game is not at a point where they can release it. There's too many bugs. It's going to crash, or like just communicate that, put that message out there and say, this is where we're at. The game is not either going to be released, which is going to upset a lot of people. They would then have to refund. I myself pre-ordered the game from Fanatical, so I got it for £35 5 pence. Probably will still get a refund because I think they are linked with Sega as well, but there's been nothing, and I think there is an obligation to communicate, and you can't disappear into a hole and say nothing, or put stuff out there, timelines to say the end of January we're going to show you the match engine, and then don't show us the match engine. Like, that's just them setting expectations for them to then do nothing, and everyone's waiting and kicking off on X, and us here, as we have done in the past, a lot of times berating SI for being morons.
I think that has to be the issue, and I think that's what we've got to say to people, is the fact that you go on to Football Manager's official website, September the 4th, October the 10th, December the 4th. So since September the 4th, there has been 3 posts. 3 posts. And in the last one, they promised that we would get news by the end of January. They still have on their website that you can pre-purchase the game. They still have it saying that's coming out in March, like they said in the post where they promised information in January. They have taken our money. They are continuing to take our money. They are informing absolutely nothing about the game, whilst continuing to take our money. And if I search at the minute on Steam, so if I search Football Manager 25, it's 584 kroner, and I'm looking now, and there is still the exact same screenshots available. 4 screenshots, 2 of them are exactly the same. You still get your 10% discount, and all we are getting told is that the offer ends on the 1st of March for the 10% off, and the game is coming March 25. No other information. And at what point does Football Manager dig a hole so deep, Colin, that they can't get out of it? Do you think, is this a career ender for Football Manager, or can they pull themselves out of this? Bear in mind that a game is coming out in 1 month's time and we've not seen a single bit of information about it.
So to me, this is entirely where the playing community comes into it. So if they handle this as they've handled it, and then the levels of purchasing and playing and all that match, prior years or grow, then we've, as a playing community for the game, say we forgive you. I'm not going to say whether I think that's right or wrong or any of that kind of stuff, but that's effectively the message that gets put on. And I think then whether it emboldens them to do this or not, probably not. My guess is on the inside that there is, that they're more worried or more embarrassed by this than we'll ever know. And every day that goes on, and every day that any of us get angrier about it, my guess is, I mean, they're people, right? I can't imagine they feel good about this. So, I don't want to kick everybody in there while they're down, but hey, you're not doing any favors. But I think if the community does respond and purchase the game in sort of normal cycles as they have, then it's sort of, it says it's okay. I think there's a non-trivial chance, and I'll tell you, like, even for myself, like I'm giving long thought as to whether or not I'll buy it, or I'm just gonna say, I'm happy playing FM24. I already own it. I've got saves. I can do everything I want to play in the game in it. I'm totally content. I don't really feel the need to buy a new one. And if you see a chunk of the community say, you know what, I don't need it, I think it becomes very problematic. I mean, Sega Europe has been pretty open about not being happy with their European studios. They've been jettisoning some of them. I think a bad year with a big investment like this and a huge gamble and kind of the mess it is could be really problematic in a business sense. I mean, it's not like it's not like, at least from public financial disclosures and that, I mean, some of it's going to be guessing and speculation and trying to read between the lines of financial disclosures, but this isn't like a $5 development effort here. There's big dollars behind this. It's going to need significant, consistent revenue to offset over time. I mean, this, I forget the gentleman that did the video we talked about a couple weeks ago, but his read and I having spending a lot of time in my professional life reading financial statements, I don't disagree that this is probably some level of a 9-figure development investment to have gotten here over multiple years. I don't care what you are. That's a lot of $50 games you got to buy to pay that back.
I can confirm that I've never read a financial statement at work. Ryan,
it's what I do.
I'm going to put the last question to you. And I can't remember what it was because Ryan just shared something in our chat and he's completely took my mind off what I was going to ask you. Ryan, explain what you're going on about so I can think about what I was going to ask you. Muted himself again, Colin. He's muted himself. This is why we look so amateur. He muted himself again.
I mute myself so you don't shout at me, but then you're going to shout at me for muting myself.
Come on. Why you
You're not going to win here.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask. Right, wait. So, the games obviously moved over, or moving over to Unity. They speak about how that this has been in the pipeline since 2019. Maybe before that they were discussing looking for somebody to team up with in terms of advancing the game. You have to wonder, how did the pitch go from these people at Unity? Because something is going horribly wrong if they are trying to redesign this game and it's just not working. And do you believe, Ryan, that... I mean, I guess it's not even possible. Should they go back to the old setup, or has that all been deleted?
I mean, I wouldn't imagine it's all been deleted, because I don't know if that would affect the current running of FM24. I did find it interesting that in one of their posts they said that FM24 would be available until the release of FM25. I didn't know what that meant, whether people just couldn't download the game from then onwards. There was a mentioning of something to do with licenses, because they've got more licenses for FM25 than they have for FM24. Obviously now they've got the Premier League, but something must have gone drastically wrong, because there was this big push of, we're moving over to Unity, this will give us more opportunities for our match engine. I think they did mention that they would still keep in mind that people do play Football Manager on potatoes.
A potato.
So
That's my Irish accent.
Yes. But there was more opportunities for people that wanted a better match engine. I don't think we were probably going to see we're not going to see a FIFA style match engine, because that would just take out a whole bunch of people that do play the game. But something has obviously gone drastically wrong, and it is probably most likely with the match engine. I imagine maybe their UI is probably sorted, because they did share some images of that. Or maybe certain things don't work. Maybe you click on certain things and the game just crashes. Like there must be something very drastic for them to just disappear, say nothing. But then, as you've seen, I've just posted in our own chat, they're currently looking for a lead game designer.
It's a bit concerning,
Well, I think Ryan, you raises a really interesting point, right? If in my mind, right, there, this is okay. I'll project, normal corporate behavior here on them, right? If there's a licensing issue, right, and we already saw this, right? They did the update with the AC Milan, Inter Milan, Napoli, right? And, right, they've come out and just said, hey, we need to make some updates. We have licensing issues, right? So if there was a licensing issue, if it was the Premier League or whoever, right, I would have expected a well-crafted story, release from a lawyer that would have said, like, we are delaying the release of the game due to ongoing licensing negotiations. We'll provide more update when we have it, right? Something like that. Like, that's a totally plausible scenario. That's an easy communication. Everybody gets it. We understand that these things are complex, that there's a lot of money involved, that they are big entities. There's a lot of lawyers involved. Okay, no issue, no harm, no foul, right? But the way that they've handled the communication gives every indicator, and I kind of believe what my head's where yours I think is, Ryan, on this, is there's something more fundamental going on to it. Whether there's subtle issues underneath the change between the old code base and the new code base that's not quite worked out, that creates effectively an unplayable situation. If it's, we all remember years ago, right? What was it? 18 or 19 with the weird corner bug where, you could set up, or the crossing bug where it was insta goals, or,
Loved it.
whether there's something like, yeah, I know. Whether it's something like that. I mean, this basically reeks of there's something they can't sort. And that's the holdup. I mean, look, they're a modern software development entity, so they've got to be operating in some kind of an agile development framework, which means that they spend an awful lot of time trying to figure out how much work and how much effort stuff is, and they know how much work and how much effort they can accomplish per team per unit time. And those little curves, they know how much stuff they need to get done, and they know the day that those things are all going to hit zero. So there's no shock as to, to me, it would be pretty unfathomable that any project management element within that organization doesn't know, as long as things are running predictably, when stuff is going to be done. Which to me, when they announced the delays to March and January, that was my read, was, hey, we understand how much work we've got left to get done. Turns out it was more than we thought. And this is when those little magic curves cross zero. Great, we'll be done. We can get our marketing materials. Everything is going to be hunky dory.
Well,
what this reads is, hey, we don't know how long it takes to get something done, which means we're battling something we don't understand, which is like that. And that's the, I just, that's 7 years of engineering and, graduate degrees, in engineering and complex product, 20 years of complex product development and heading down that road. That's it. It just has those feelings.
Well, as we are recording this podcast, a regular contributor in all my content in Finchy has just sent me a screenshot on X DMs as well of the fact that they are looking for the lead game designer as well. So I guess that is going around the FM community now just to put an absolute panic into everybody even more. Yes, I've refreshed my Twitter and seeing screenshots of it from people. That's a great way to end with Sports Interactive dropping that bomb on us now. Why would you advertise that now? Even if you're looking for one and the guy who's doing it has gone, do you know what, guys, after this one I'm stepping down. Unless you are so desperate that you had no choice at all, you shouldn't advertise for that right now. Not with all the shit that's going down. Just... mind-numbing. Now, what I will say
amateur. I mean, that's sort of pretty amateur in my mind.
Oh, it's just like worst timing. So,
yeah,
the next podcast is going to be in 2 weeks. I promise people now, if there's no news on when the game and beta and stuff is going to be released, the next podcast will be solely about our save games and what we are doing. We won't dive into this again unless we have a new bit of information to discuss, because it's mind-numbing the fact that none of us can work out what the bejesus is going on in their heads. So, Ryan,
this horse ain't getting any deader.
No, Ryan, thank you for joining us. Very nice to see that you're not dead.
I will try to be back next time.
And Colin, hopefully your wife doesn't kill you for putting all your daily chores on pause and you can go back to hanging up the clothes and digging up the garden.
It's all good.
Thank you very much for everyone tuning in. We did rank in the top 50 of gaming podcasts last time, which does tell you that it must have been a very quiet few days in the UK gaming chat where we did rank. So with Ryan on the podcast, if we can get in the top 200, we do very much appreciate people's support. Thank you for listening. I've been Paul, also known as the Northman, and I will see you next time.